Rachel runs a contact center for her company and has chosen to use Blue Prism digital workers to improve efficiency and performance. Blue Prism digital workers can do anything a human worker can do on a computer, often using the same user interfaces. They're also faster, never take a break or get sick, never sleep, never make a mistake, keep perfect audit logs, and are highly secure. That said, Rachel's contact center is quite large, so how do we know where to start? What work should the digital workers be doing in the first place? This is where Blue Prism Process Intelligence enters the field. System log data can be loaded and transformed as needed with ease through the Extract, Transform, and Load tool or through pre-built connectors. The no-code interface makes it fully accessible and easy to use, and once the data is ingested, it is automatically organized as a process model that can be immediately visualized and analyzed. Color coding makes it easy to identify bottlenecks. In this example, Rachel can see that the billing review is taking significant amounts of time. By switching the line of thickness to represent the time length of events, we can clearly see that the billing review is a bottleneck, which can be further investigated in the bottleneck tool. Here we can see that the billing review takes over 30% of the total time. Rachel's team can then simulate improving the bottleneck from the previous view and predict how many hours back to the business this would yield. We can also look at a frequency distribution of the paths taken to complete a given process. In this example, the straightforward happy path occurs most often, but the second most common path takes significantly longer, as does a few others. Perhaps this is due to repeating the billing review, or perhaps it has to do with the agent answering the call. To understand why, we can set those paths as a filter and drill down. The breakdown tool lets Rachel's team easily analyze events. In this case, we want to identify which agent is assigned to these longer calls, and we can quickly see that most are handled by Alex. We can also see that other agents don't take as long. With no coding and just a few clicks, we've gone from ingestion of the data to discovery. But why is Alex taking a longer route? Maybe he doesn't know the right method, and some targeted enablement could have a large return. Or perhaps Alex excels and is assigned to the more difficult calls? Either way, we now know we want to set up a task mining recorder on his machine to learn more. To get the full picture and better understand automation opportunities, we need to be able to visualize and analyze some manual steps a user does on their computer that don't generate data or logs. This is referred to as task mining, and it provides the granular detail required to build out automations. When doing these recordings, it's critical to protect user privacy. Templates allow us to define when to record, what applications to either include or exclude, what should be obfuscated, and what text should be masked. In this example, we're setting up a recorder for Alex as well as some of the other agents to look at specifically just the applications they're using to do these processes. As Alex does his work, shown here sped up, the actions he takes are logged. By deploying recorders on many agents' desktops and recording for several days, Rachel's team can identify details they would otherwise miss if only recording a single agent or doing interviews. With the data from the recordings, we can apply deep analytics. By graphing the potential gain against the complexity, for example, we can quickly determine the best candidates for automation. We can also identify projects we probably should avoid automating, at least right away. In this case, we can see that in addition to the billing service, which is relatively uncomplicated, we can get a high gain from automating the address change process as well. And since Blue Prism Process Intelligence deploys multiple recorders on various users' desktops, Rachel can capture a representative sample of how different people do tasks. This means that we don't see just one happy path, but every path, including exception paths, resulting in automations that are much more resilient. Once we've selected the paths we want to include, we simply click the Export to Blue Prism button. Blue Prism Process Intelligence combines process mining and task mining to give the high-level view of a business process, as well as the granular details required to easily select and automate it. Next, we can import it into Blue Prism Capture, where we can optimize it for a digital workforce. For example, when Alex needs to change an address in 5 systems, he does it in one system at a time. Instead of doing each one sequentially the way a human would, 5 digital workers working in parallel could complete the task 5 times faster. Blue Prism Capture also includes additional recording functionality. This way, Rachel's team can consult a subject matter expert and make adjustments to the process as needed. Once ready, we can export it into the Blue Prism Design Studio as a skeleton, saving roughly 30% of the development time. In addition to optimizing the process for a digital worker and speeding up development, Blue Prism Capture also exports documentation that's used to help maintain proper governance. In order to finalize the automations, Rachel works with their company's Blue Prism Center of Excellence, who then import the release into the design studio. Blue Prism automations are broken up into two categories: processes, which contain the business logic or what the digital worker is doing, and objects, which contain the application level logic or how the digital worker does it. Here we see the skeleton we imported from Blue Prism Capture. The no-code flowchart-based interface is designed to be easy to use, looking similar to Microsoft Visio so business users can learn it quickly. When the business logic needs to interact with an application, such as the CRM system, it calls the object for that application. These objects are fully reusable, which means that once they're built, you can quickly build out more processes that use the same applications by just connecting the dots, if you will. In order to build out the objects, you first need to tell Blue Prism how to identify the individual elements of the application that you want to interact with. To look up an account number, for example, we need to identify the locate button so the digital worker can press it. To do this, we simply open the application modeler, create a new element, and click Identify. Notice that as I move my mouse over the application, the different elements are outlined. After selecting the one I want, I can double check that it worked by clicking Highlight. Notice that the Locate button is again outlined. Since Blue Prism identifies elements based on the underlying code, as opposed to screen scraping, minor changes to the application or differences in screen resolution won't cause any issues. With the elements identified, it's time to use the flowchart to describe the action. First, I'll drag in a write stage to enter the account number, and then a navigate stage to press the Locate button. Opening the write stage, I simply tell it to enter the account number, encrypted as a password for security, into the search bar element. Opening the navigate stage, I similarly drag in the locate button element and select press as the action. Now all I have to do is link the pieces together, and we're ready to try this out. As we step through the object, we can see the corresponding actions being taken in the CRM. While this does work, we want to make it even more resilient before putting it into production. By following the best practice templates, we get something that looks like this. The main section in the middle remains the same, entering the value and then clicking Locate. But before we do that, we want to do some verification. First, we make sure that Blue Prism is attached to the correct application. Alex and other agents work with many different applications, so we need to be sure that the digital worker is looking at the right one. Next, we make sure the search bar is actually there. Digital workers can move through the application very quickly, so it's important to give them time to load before progressing. Otherwise, we could end up trying to click a button that doesn't exist yet. Unlike traditional recorder-based automations, which simply pause for the amount of time in the recording, Blue Prism will wait until the element is there and then immediately move on. This way we go as quickly as possible while still being highly resilient. If the element isn't detected after a set amount of time, Blue Prism will gracefully handle it instead of crashing, often restarting the application to try again. Finally, once we've completed the task, Blue Prism will use the intelligent wait again to confirm. In this case, we wait until the customer data loads. This way, we know if the action failed, so we can rectify it. All of these best practices, and many more regarding everything from how to set up a COE to proper documentation for your automations, are included in the Blue Prism Robotic Operating Model, or ROM. Blue Prism has been helping customers for over 20 years, and has codified that experience into the ROM to make sure customers like Rachel are successful. Blue Prism's no-code design studio makes it easy to build scalable, resilient automations, all while remaining compliant and highly secure. With the back-end processes now automated, we need to set up a user interface for Alex and the other call center agents to use. Since Blue Prism Service Assist lets the COE set this up entirely from within the Blue Prism Design Studio, they can use the tool they already know to build a UI quickly and without any coding. Here you see the UI on the left, with the BP process that controls it running on the right in debug mode for visibility. Pre-built objects are called to control different elements on the UI, and the included PS hours help make sure it's set up quickly and easily. Now when Alex has a call come in, digital workers are automatically triggered to pull the appropriate information as quickly as possible so we can greet the customer by name and personify the conversation. The customer 360-degree view shows all of the information Alex needs in a single pane of glass at his fingertips, saving him and other agents time previously spent navigating through multiple systems. And with the ability to have multiple digital workers swarm a task, working in parallel as mentioned earlier, average handle time can be improved dramatically. For example, one customer had Service Assist kick off up to 26 digital workers at a time, resulting in average handle time going from 9 minutes to just 2 minutes. All of the actions to be taken are available as simple tabs along the top of the screen, saving time by removing the need to work through different screens while the customer is on the line. Service Assist also has the ability to easily guide agents through more complex processes like loan applications in a step-by-step wizard-like approach, which will remove errors and ensure consistent, streamlined processes with quicker resolutions. Not only will this make your customers happier, but it also reduces the amount of training required for new agents. Finally, Blue Prism Service Assist can easily send confirmations to the customer through email or text before digital workers take on the post-call work, freeing Alex up to take the next call. Service Assist improves both the average handle time and the agent experience by combining digital worker swarming with a simplified user interface. In order to further streamline agent training, Rachel wants to have AI help predict the next best actions for them to take. Using Blue Prism Decision, her team can quickly set up and train a machine learning model. When creating the machine learning model, Rachel's SME Rob first gives it a name and a basic description to make it easier to find later on. Rob then defines what the outcome will look like, choosing between numerical or categorical. In this case, Rob chooses categorical, specifically whether or not to offer a new credit card. The ability to add custom values as well here yields tremendous versatility. Next, the variables are defined. Rob can add as many as he needs, but in this case he only needs 4. If the model proves inaccurate, Blue Prism Decision allows him to easily add more variables and retrain it later on. After he confirms, the model is built and ready to be trained. If certain variable values always result in a certain outcome, they can easily be set as a rule using the no-code interface. For example, if they've been a customer for under a year, they won't get a new card offer. The last thing we need before we can teach the model is just one example for each outcome. In this case, Rob sets 1 for yes and 1 for no. Now it's time for Rachel's SMEs, like Alex, to teach the model. Blue Prism Decision proposes various examples, and Alex chooses yes or no and creates samples. This is repeated just 20 times to give accurate results. After that, the roles are reversed to calibrate the model. Alex changes the variable values to see what answer Blue Prism Decision gives, correcting them as needed. The data points used to make each decision are shown below, since having an audit trail for how each decision is made is crucial for compliance. With compliance in mind, all the samples used to create and train the model can be viewed and the individual weightings can be changed, although most often that isn't required. And just like that, our machine learning model is ready to go. Back in the Blue Prism Design Studio, Rachel's Center of Excellence can now call the machine learning model the same way they would use any other Blue Prism object. The speed and ease of use for setting up custom ML models in Blue Prism Decision allows Rachel to quickly set up complex decisions, significantly reducing the amount of training her new agents required, just as hoped. If Rachel's team would rather use a different solution, Blue Prism also integrates with many best-of-breed artificial intelligence and machine learning partners through its extensive Technology Alliance Partner program. With the automated solution now in production, we can use Blue Prism Process Intelligence again to examine the outcomes. Here we can see that the automation has taken the bottleneck from earlier from about 9 minutes down to only 2, resulting in massive average handle time reductions. In order to monitor both the digital workers and the larger processes they're a part of, Rachel can use Blue Prism Process Intelligence's behavior queries. Process queries can be defined graphically without any coding or scripting, democratizing their use. Similarly, we can use the forecast tool to set up custom machine learning models to predict outcomes before they happen. Custom alerts can be triggered by these queries and forecasts, and can even directly trigger Blue Prism digital workers. This means that digital workers can dynamically be added to jobs to make sure SLAs are hit. In just a short amount of time, and without any coding, Rachel's project is up and running. Using Blue Prism Process Intelligence, her team quickly identified what processes should be automated, and the integration with Blue Prism Capture cut the development time by 30%. Best practices in the robotic operating model ensured her automations would be highly resilient and secure, while also reusable and scalable. Blue Prism Service Assist then drastically reduced average handle time by having digital workers swarm any task for agents, all while cutting training time by giving them a single pane of glass to view all necessary data and Blue Prism Decision to predict next best actions. Finally, the monitoring and predictive capabilities of Blue Prism Process Intelligence not only ensure that SLAs and compliance regulations are met, but also provide the metrics she needs, such as average handle time going from 9 minutes to 4 minutes, and the cost being cut in half. Talk to your Blue Prism rep to find out what you can achieve with the combined power of the Blue Prism Intelligent Automation Platform.